I used to avoid mirrors and bright light. That's the truth. Not because I didn't take care of myself, but because my hair, the same style I'd worn for over a decade, had quietly started aging me faster than my actual face was. Here's what nobody tells you. The right haircut can take years off your appearance without a single trip to a dermatologist. It's not about chasing youth. It's about choosing shapes and lengths that work with your bone structure now, not the bone structure you had at 30. Tonight I'm walking you through 5 haircuts that genuinely do this. Cuts that soften what time has changed, lift what's dropped, and frame your face the way good lighting does. I researched the worst style and beauty mistakes and the best fixes for women over 50 so you get real results, fast. If you haven't already, hit subscribe. I cover this every single week. Part 1. The soft layered bob. Here's something most women don't realize until a stylist finally says it out loud. Hair that's all one length, past a certain age, starts pulling your whole face down with it. It's not the length itself. It's the absence of movement. Flat, heavy hair reads as tired to the eye, even on a woman who slept 9 hours and feels wonderful. You've probably seen it in old photos of yourself. That long, straight cut you kept for years because it was easy. It sat there. It didn't do anything for you. And somewhere along the way, gravity and thinning worked together to make it look thinner and flatter than it actually was. The fix is the soft layered bob, and I mean specifically layered, not the blunt bob everyone pictures. Ask for face framing layers that start at the cheekbone and graduate down to the jaw or just below it. The stylist's phrase you want to use is point cut layers with movement through the ends. That phrasing matters because it tells them not to blunt cut the bottom, which is what creates that heavy, aging curtain effect. Here's why this works on a mechanical level. Layers around the face catch light differently than flat hair does. They create small shadows and highlights that draw the eye up toward your cheekbones and eyes instead of down toward your jawline and neck, which is exactly where age tends to show first. A layered bob essentially does what a good contour does in makeup, except it's permanent, and you don't have to redo it every morning. The length matters too. Chin to collarbone is the sweet spot for most face shapes over 50. Go shorter than the chin and you risk width at the jaw. Go longer than the collarbone without heavy layering and you're back to the flat, pulling down problem you started with. I had a woman tell me she got this cut before a college reunion, and 3 separate people asked if she'd done something to her face. She hadn't touched her face at all. That's the whole point. The haircut did the lifting. Ask your stylist to keep the layers soft rather than choppy. Choppy layers can look sparse on fine or thinning hair, which is common at this age. So soft graduated layers give you the movement without exposing scalp or making hair look wispy. If you have very fine hair, request that the heaviest layer weight stay at the perimeter, not throughout. That keeps the illusion of fullness intact. Maintenance is simple. A trim every 8 to 10 weeks keeps the layers from growing out into that flat shape again, and a round brush blow dry once a week is enough to keep the movement visible even on lazy days. Before, long one-length hair sitting flat against the jaw and neck, pulling the whole face downward. After, a chin to collarbone bob with soft face framing layers that lift the eye toward the cheekbones instead. There's a second cut, though, that works even better if your hair has real texture or waves, and it's one most women over 50 are afraid to even ask for. Part 2. The curtain fringe. Most women assume bangs are a young woman's move, something that reads as trying too hard once you're past 50. That assumption is backwards, and it's costing a lot of women a genuinely age-softening feature. The specific mistake isn't avoiding bangs altogether. It's the version women picture when they think bangs, a thick, blunt, straight-across fringe that sits high on the forehead. That style can actually harden the face, especially if forehead lines are visible underneath it, because it creates a stark line right where you least want one. The fix is a curtain fringe, and it's almost the opposite of what most women picture. This is a fringe parted in the center, swept softly to either side, longest at the center part and angling down to blend into the rest of your hair around cheekbone level. The salon phrase for this is a soft curtain fringe with a feathered part. That tells the stylist you want it wispy and parted, not blunt and dense. The reason this specific shape softens the face is about line direction. A blunt fringe creates one hard horizontal line across the forehead. A curtain fringe creates 2 soft diagonal lines that frame the eyes instead of capping the forehead. Diagonal, feathered lines read as gentler to the eye than horizontal, blunt ones. It's the same principle a photographer uses when they angle light across a face instead of hitting it flat on. It also solves a problem specific to this age group. As foreheads show more lines, a curtain fringe gives you the option of light coverage without looking like you're hiding anything. It's not a full fringe pretending forehead lines don't exist. It's a soft frame that draws attention to your eyes, which is where you want the attention anyway. A client of mine described the moment she saw it finished as feeling like someone had opened up her whole face. That's the word almost everyone uses. Not younger, exactly open. Awake. Present. Ask your stylist to cut it dry, not wet, because curtain fringes rely on movement and a slight bend, and wet cutting can make them sit too heavy and straight once they dry. If your hair has any natural wave, this cut will actually work with that texture instead of fighting it, which is rare for a fringe style. Upkeep is minimal. A quick trim every 4 to 6 weeks keeps the length from growing past the cheekbone and losing its frame effect. And most mornings it just needs a light finger comb and maybe a small amount of texturizing cream. Before, a thick, blunt fringe sitting high and flat, creating a hard line across the forehead. After, a soft center-parted curtain fringe that opens the whole face and draws the eye to the eyes themselves. I have to be honest with you about the next one, because it's the cut most women fear the most, and it's also the one with the biggest payoff. Part 3, the modern shag. If there's one word women over 50 avoid at the salon, it's shag. It sounds messy. It sounds like something from a decade you'd rather not revisit. And that fear keeps a lot of women stuck in cuts that are actually aging them more than the shag ever would. The mistake here is choosing a rigid, structured cut because it feels safe. A cut with a hard, defined shape and very little variation in length. Rigid shapes can be unforgiving on a mature face because they don't leave room for softness anywhere. Every edge is sharp. Every line is intentional in a way that can look severe rather than polished. The fix is a modern shag, and the version that works after 50 is nothing like the 70s photo in your head. Ask specifically for a soft shag with razored ends and minimal structure. Razoring instead of scissor cutting the ends is what gives it that effortless, textured look rather than a choppy or unkempt one. This cut works because it introduces irregularity, and irregularity reads as youthful in a very specific way. It suggests movement, ease, hair that isn't trying too hard. A rigid cut says, I have this under control at all times. A soft shag says, I look this good without trying, which is a much more flattering message on a mature face, because effortlessness itself reads as confidence, and confidence reads as youth. The layering in a shag is also more forgiving on thinning hair than people expect, because the layers are irregular and razored rather than blunt. They don't require the same density a blunt cut does to look full. Thin patches blend into the texture instead of standing out against a flat surface. One woman told me she'd resisted this cut for 2 years because of the name alone. When she finally got it, her exact words were that she finally looked like herself, with better lighting. That's the effect. Nothing about her face changed, but the frame around it stopped fighting her. Ask your stylist to keep the crown layers shorter and the perimeter slightly longer, and to use a razor rather than shears on at least the top layer. If you have fine hair, request they keep the layering moderate rather than extreme, since heavy shag layering on very fine hair can occasionally look sparse rather than textured. Maintenance runs every 8 weeks or so to keep the razored shape crisp, and styling is genuinely low effort. A little texturizing spray and a quick tousle with your fingers is usually all it needs. Before, a rigid structured cut with hard-defined edges and no variation in length. After, a soft, razored shag with irregular layers that move naturally and look effortless. There's one more cut that most women dismiss immediately, before they even understand what it actually looks like on someone their age. Part 4, the pixie with length on top. The pixie cut has a reputation problem. Women picture something severe, almost military, and assume it will make them look harsher rather than younger. But the version that's actually flattering after 50 barely resembles that image at all. The mistake is either avoiding short hair entirely out of fear, or going with a very close-cropped, uniform-length pixie that offers no softness around the face. A cut that's short everywhere at the same length can expose more of the jaw and neck than most women want. And without any length on top to balance it, the proportions can feel abrupt. The fix is a pixie with length left on top, noticeably longer through the crown and front, tapered shorter at the sides and back. The phrase to use with your stylist is a textured pixie with longer top layers for volume and sweep. That extra length on top is doing almost all the work here. Here's the mechanism. Length on top gives you something to style. You can sweep it to one side, tousle it forward, or brush it back, which means the haircut can change its mood day to day. It also lets you control how much forehead and face shows, because you can direct the longer pieces to soften your hairline rather than exposing it entirely. The shorter sides keep the whole thing feeling neat and structured rather than overgrown. This combination also does something clever with proportion. Length concentrated at the crown draws the eye upward and adds visual height, which balances a face that may have softened slightly at the jaw. It's the haircut equivalent of a well-placed accessory. It redirects attention exactly where you want it. A woman at one of my talks told me she got this cut after her stylist described it as a pixie for someone who's not ready to fully commit to short. That framing helped her say yes. She kept it for 6 years afterward. Ask for texturizing scissors or a razor on the top layers specifically, so the length has movement rather than sitting flat, and request the sides be tapered rather than shaved for a softer transition. If you have finer hair, a little length on top also gives you somewhere to build volume with product, which a uniform close crop doesn't allow. This cut needs trims every 5 to 6 weeks to keep its shape, but daily styling takes minutes. A small amount of pomade worked through damp hair and swept with your fingers is usually enough. Before, a uniform, close-cropped pixie with no length variation, exposing more of the neck and jaw than intended. After, a textured pixie with length swept across the top, adding height and giving the whole cut somewhere to move. I've saved the trickiest one for last, because it's also the one that gets misunderstood the most. Part 5, the long layered lob with side part. Every stylist has a version of this story. A longtime client walks in wanting to finally cut it all off. Convinced that long hair past 50 automatically looks like she's trying to hold on to something. That belief isn't true. But the way most women wear long hair after 50 often does create that impression, and it's worth understanding why. The mistake isn't length itself, it's wearing long hair center parted with minimal layering, pulled straight back or left completely straight down the sides. That combination can flatten the face from the front and add visual weight exactly where you don't want it, near the jaw and chin. The fix is a long layered lob with a deep side part. Hair that lands between the collarbone and shoulder, with generous face framing layers, worn parted well off-center rather than straight down the middle. Tell your stylist you want a lived-in lob with a deep side part and face framing layers cut long. That phrase signals movement and asymmetry, not a rigid, groomed shape. The side part alone changes more than people expect. A center part creates perfect symmetry, which sounds like a good thing, but perfect symmetry can actually emphasize any asymmetry that's developed naturally in the face over time. Slightly different eye height, a fuller cheek on one side. A deep side part breaks that mirror effect and lets one side of your hair fall fuller than the other, which softens exactly those small asymmetries instead of highlighting them. The layering does the rest. Long layers cut around the cheekbone and jaw, blending into the shorter lob length. Keep the ends from sitting in one heavy line at the collarbone. Instead, the hair moves in stages, catching light at different points, which reads as far more alive than one uniform sheet of hair. A friend of mine switched from a center part to a deep side part with this exact cut, and said her husband asked, unprompted, if she'd done something different with her makeup. She hadn't touched her makeup at all that day. Ask your stylist to point cut the face framing pieces rather than blunt cutting them, and to establish the side part while your hair is dry, since a part placed on wet hair often shifts once it dries and won't sit the same way. If your hair has natural wave or curl, this cut works especially well because the wave adds even more movement to the layers. Trims every 10 to 12 weeks keep the layers defined without losing length, and it air dries beautifully most days, needing only a little smoothing cream and a deep side part set with your fingers while damp. Before, long, center-parted hair with minimal layering, sitting flat and heavy near the jaw. After, a long layered lob with a deep side part, face framing layers, and natural, asymmetrical movement. That's all 5, and if even one of these sounded like your mirror this morning, you already know which cut to bring to your next appointment. You now know exactly what to ask for: the soft layered bob, the curtain fringe, the modern shag, the pixie with length on top, and the long layered lob with a deep side part. 5 specific phrases, 5 specific fixes, and not one of them requires anything more drastic than an appointment you were probably due for anyway. Which one matched your current cut the closest? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one, and I want to know which of these 5 you're bringing to your stylist first. Next week I'm covering the styling mistakes that undo a great haircut before you even leave the house. Like this video, subscribe to Timeless Wisdom Path, and I'll see you in the next one.